situation.
Tragic story. Okay, let's get to the next story. Wildlife officials revealed that 152 Tule elk died in Point Reyes in 2020.
This is such a fascinating story because the national parks came out and said they were going to kill Tule elk based on the fact that there's too many of them and they can't cohabitate with the dairy cows that are in the area. Turns out, if you don't provide them access to the resources they need, they'll die anyway. So the Tule elk did not have good forage. They did not have good water, and it ended up killing a bunch of the herd off. And now these officials from the wildlife, from the state or national park, don't have to kill them off. It seems like it's a happy accident, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if
I'll say conservationists are pissed.
Yeah, so what it comes down to, though, is it's not like it's man-made problems that are killing these elk. What it comes down to is kind of like most of the problems in Northern California. It's lack of water. They had poor forage, and that was because of low amounts of rainfall in previous years. The Department of Fish and Wildlife suggests poor forage quality, the underlying cause of these population changes. And although the NPS and CDFW believe the elk population decline are drought related, there's no evidence that the population decline is due to hydration. So it's really more about the plants that they're eating not being able to survive and produce enough food for these elk to eat. So it's another negative thing for a lack of waterfall in Northern California.
So what you're reading, and I've been trying to go through this story and with an open mind, and this is a press release from the Park Service about the Tule elk, which they have to announce. And they estimated that they will allow 350 Tule elk in the area, which was below, the capacity that there was in 2019. And so they were going to begin killing them off. Now, conservationists are saying they tried to bring water to these herds and they were blocked by Park Service. Now, we might not be getting the full story because, of course, each individual group has their own agenda, right? The conservationists don't want any dairy cattle at all, any cows in that area at all. And the national park is sort of having to deal with these leases that were given to the dairy ranches. So it seems like a happy accident to me to you don't allow resources to get to the elk and they die and you're not having to euthanize them. But now the size of the elk is way below what their capacity is. And so the National Park Service is sort of off the hook. I just feel like in this super controversial story of the Tule elk in Point Reyes, the National Park Service got sort of a free pass, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's never a good story to see the local wildlife declining. But yeah, as you mentioned, they were going to have to try to do some drastic measures in order to change the numbers there, and this kind of did help things. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't like seeing stories that is just, not enough rainfall, more things die, or fire. It feels like that's pretty much all we talk about nowadays.
I guess my question is, and it's not brought up in this press release, is if these elk had access to the water in the area, to the good water in the area, right? Like how much of their blockage from the dairy farms area is causing them to not be able to access clean water.
Well, from how I read it, it was more about not about them not being able to get fresh drinking water. It just the plants that they were eating weren't producing enough leaves because they haven't had enough rainfall. And so it even says in there, it is these problems are because of drought, but it's not because the elk weren't drinking water. They weren't dying of dehydration. They were dying of starvation because the plants that they eat weren't getting an adequate enough amount of water in order to survive. And so those plants die, the food source of the elk die, i.e. elks die.
Yeah, I guess I'm just suspect of the whole thing because it has become, and it has become like so controversial. And I see a lot of the conservationists online saying like, this is bullshit. They did die from lack of water.
Well, we talk about
resources.
The wolves too. These wild animals are dying in this area. Is this natural, or is this because of some maybe man-made reasons? Because it does not help the dairy farms in the area.
Right. What's the true story? And it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? Like, but it just seems so convenient that they died off themselves instead of having the Park Service having to go in and kill them.
Similarly, how wolves disappeared.
Yeah, that's a little different because that's like a random person killing them off, most likely. But you never know. You're right. It's probably somewhere in the middle. So we're going to keep an eye on this because there are some big conservationist groups with big voices who are pissed off about this. And like I said, they have claimed that they attempted to bring these herds water and were shut down by the Park Service. So I don't know the truth behind this entire matter, but we'll certainly keep an eye on it like we have for the past